Okay, we are recording. Hi, everybody. This is David P. France, and I'm coming to you from Basel, Switzerland. Before we get started, I want to encourage all of you out there to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the YouTube and BitChute channels. This is David P. France TV. And what we do is we showcase artists, inventors, thought leaders, small business owners, and entrepreneurs. And today I'm speaking to someone who I have been trying to track down maybe for, what is it, a couple of weeks, months maybe?
I think months, David.
Months, yeah. Joe Ovelman.
Hi, David.
Hi, Joe's an artist, and he's going to tell you exactly what he's at, but he's done a lot. Yeah, he's done all kinds of stuff. And he's somebody that I get to talk to people like Joe all the time. Joe doesn't know it, but I'm also an artist. He knows I'm an artist, but my entire family on both sides, we're all artists, mostly creative, very creative people. So my mother is a retired art teacher, right? So awesome. The conversations that we have, or we're about to have, we've had them many, many times. So let me read this from the Wikipedia. It says, Joe Ovelman is an American contemporary artist and author who works with video, photography, sculpture, installation art, performance art, artist books, and drawing. He is his work has been featured in several New York City street murals, and you currently live in New York City, or you're in Brooklyn at the moment. But
I am in Bushwick.
You're in Bushwick, Brooklyn. But prior to that, you had been in Philadelphia for a number of years. Is that right?
Yes, I've been in Philly now, I think, Philly and surrounding area for 10 years.
10 years. Well, before we start, give the audience a bit of background about yourself, how you grew up, what made you become an artist. Fill us in on that, and then we're going to jump to what you started working on when you were, I guess, late teens and entering college area, or college age, if you want to call it that.
I took my time in undergrad and at college age. So when I actually went to college and finished college, I was 25, I think, 24 when I got my first job out of college. And as we spoke earlier, I was selling debt via Affinity credit card for a year after college. And I left that job and moved to New York City to be an artist, because I didn't want my creative, I wanted my creative force to push my own agenda and not a bank's.
So wait, how did you know that you had the force? I mean, earlier on, we talked about this before, you were drawing when you were younger, but how did it manifest where you said, okay, I need to draw, or I need to sculpt, or I need to, I mean, how did this come? Give an idea for someone who's not a really creative person.
I've always drawn, as you said, as a kid, as we talked about. I was drawn to the art programs, or the creative part of all the other programs. It brings me joy, and it gives me a language to communicate my ideas with other people.
Yeah. And so yeah, what were you saying?
So when I left that job, that soul-sucking job, that people said, yeah, get yourself a degree so you can pay the rent. I left that and said, no, I'd like to do this other thing. And that's when I pursued exhibition opportunities with my work.
Yeah. So where did you go to college, or where were you in school before you landed in New York City working for the debt, selling debt?
My undergrad programs?
Yeah. Where were you?
There are 5. I finished in my hometown of Westchester University.
So you at least,
Pennsylvania.
So you at least, you were able to, you moved around a bit. You were able to sample, sample different different programs, which look, you know, in the end isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, in terms of you started to get experience in ways that other people didn't. Like, in other words, now I see what people would, things that people would frown upon. I can see them now as true learning experiences, at least because I've had a lot of my own now. I mean, earlier on, you know, I wanted everything to be, oh, you know, oh, I got to do it like this, I got to do it like that, you know, and then later on, you just say, screw it, you know. So
Every experience is a learning,
is a learning experience. So,
and an amazing one.
and it can be an amazing one. So when you moved to New York, how did you get the job, or give people an idea of, I mean, you had to get a job. You lived, where did you live in the city? I mean, how did you set up your system so that you could support yourself?
I got a job. I first designed toy packages for knockoff toys.
Mm-hmm.
Boy packages in blue boxes and pink boxes for dolls,
Mm-hmm.
for girl dolls. I did that for less than 6 months. I lived in a youth hostel for 10 days, and then I found an SRO unit. It was 120 square feet. The bathroom was in the hall that I shared with 3 other units.
Mm-hmm.
I made all my work in that space and lived in that space and cooked in that space. But really, I lived in New York. I got a job. So I left. I only did that toy thing for a hot minute. And then I went to the same gay bar in New York City, in Chelsea at that time.
Which was
every
called,
week.
what was that called?
What was that called? Splash Bar.
Yeah, the Splash Bar. Yeah. Okay.
So I went every week
Uh-huh.
for like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks in a row. And one day I finally walked in and the guy was like, I have a bar back that didn't show up today. He hasn't shown up. He's been sick like 3 times in the past 2 weeks. I don't know where his head's at, but it's not here. Can you start right now? Can you start today? Can you start right now? And I said, yeah. And then I worked there for 5 years. I did very well to be able to work there and spend that money on making art. So.
Well, they must have known you as a regular. If he just said, hey, you know, what can you start right now? Right?
Oh, no. I went every day. I wasn't there to drink. I was there asking for a job.
Okay.
To work in the biggest, it was the most lucrative gay bar in the city at that time.
Yeah, and it was very, it was, you know, what I remember about that time, because I was in the city early 90s or mid 90s, was, I mean, it's a totally different situation. They don't really have dance places like that anymore, or places where you can congregate in big spaces. So it is, you know, I mourn for those times because it created so much, right? I mean, that time was a good time. And I know that the owners of that bar made a lot of money because the place was always full. At a certain point.
It was always full.
It was always full.
Everyone made money there. That was also, I'll give them that, you know, for whatever their faults were. Everyone got a piece of that in some way.
Yeah, I understand. So from there,
you know, I read a post today of a CEO that said, I haven't paid myself since March. He had the opportunity to not pay himself since March. And he's like, I don't understand these other people that are giving themselves bonuses. So I like when it feels like
you're part of it
being shared.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's a rare situation where everyone gets a piece of the action when they're working for a company. It's a rare, and those people who are part of it always remember it, right? It's something that you'll never forget because it's so rare that it happens. So how long were you were at the bar, you made a lot of art. And so how did you start getting installation work? You started writing to, you know, different galleries, exhibitions, shows? When did that?
I was making work that I wanted to build the frames for, so I took a continuing ed class at the School of Visual Arts with an artist named Steve Keister. And Steve introduced me to a gallerist named Bill Bartman. Bill Bartman did a program that still exists. It's distribution to underserved communities. They publish art books and then give them away for free to libraries that can't afford to buy their own art books. And then someone came in the studio and said, I can sell this. Can you make more of these? And I said, yeah, you know, I'm already making them, so I can make more of them. And people responded to the work. So that was nice. That was good.
And what kind of response did they say? Like this guy, oh, I really want to buy? Because the question for us, even people in my family, is when well, the general notion is art doesn't make any money, right? But I do believe that art can make money, right? It has to serve a purpose for someone out there that can see it and fulfill a, you know, fulfill a need for people. And there are artists that can do that. So when the person said, hey, I can sell these, what do you think it was about your work that gave him this idea that he could sell it? What was it about the work? And then we're going to show you guys some of the stuff, at least the things that I pulled from the internet, and he can explain. Joe will explain.
It's not my line, but it's the closer the truth I tell, the more people can interact with that truth and honesty. So I try and show honest work, and then it has a universe. People are able to relate to it.
And that's the more that people can relate to it, then the more it's gonna make an impact, or at least people feel compelled.
Yeah, I have to think about that. How much how something that's unrelatable to me makes an impact. Thank you for that. I'm going to make a note.
Hey, look, I'm curious because look, you even did these Post-it notes, and I was like, okay, like how's a Post-it note? Like, you know, if you just see it on the internet, right, it's not going to really do anything for you. But if you see it the way it's framed, like I saw another picture of it, how it was framed, I said, okay, I can actually take this and really make a statement if it were in my home or etc. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's the way that you present the idea, right? It could be on its own a great idea, but it's the presentation around the idea.
For sure. It's not what I say, it's how I say it. Those Post-it note drawings, which I still make and are available on ArtNet or through Connor Contemporary Gallery in DC. Connor Smith, they changed their name, Connor Smith Gallery, who's been amazing. They've represented me for years and years. That it's an extension. Just talking with you now, in some ways, it's an extension of the urinal, the Duchamp. I'm Duchamp, baby. You know, that everyday object, relatable object, put it in a frame, make my note, put it at the art fair.
Well, I can already see, like,
they bought it. They bought into it. I've made more than 1,000 drawings for these books behind me.
Yes. In
the past 2 years, and I was in a show this summer, and they put a Post-it note in the show. I've made work that, you know, has made people cry. They showed my Post-it note.
Look, I understand. Look, for whatever reason, I understand it. I don't know if everybody does, but I mean, part of the reason why to put you on is to give people an idea of your path, right? So, you know, early on, you said, okay, you go to all these different schools, then you go to New York, you realize you're not really interested in selling debt to people. You end up getting starting to be an artist. So what did your day comprise of? Did you sit in the room and draw all day, or what does an artist do from the time that they get up until the time they, go to sleep in order to produce this work?
Every artist is different. This artist, some days I got up, some days I didn't. I worked late nights. I did a lot of photography as a kid. And as a kid, that's funny. I just said that. I did a lot of photography before the ubiquity of photography and cell phone cameras. They were mostly interactive. So I would meet people and ask people to be part of these large photo projects. So that was part of my day is conceptualizing and implementing ideas. One of my favorite, the longest one I ever did, Rosa Parks 381, mimics the number of days of the Montgomery, Alabama bus strike, and took me more than a year to do. And I found people to interact with me in this project and sign their name, and I signed my name for them, and we talked to each other. So, I mean, do I draw every day? No. I'm not an artist that draws every day. No.
And before
I'm always, if I don't know what would happen, it would be amazing. Maybe this will be the impetus, David.
Look, I'm sort of like the manager to artists that never was. Because I know both sides, right? And that's maybe one of the reasons why I didn't say, okay, I'm going to be this artist or blah, blah, blah. I'm like the Don King of art, or the Don King of artistic people. I like promoting the idea of creative expression, right? Because I think it's fascinating to hear people's story about how they moved through life, and then say, oh, okay, I'm here doing this. That's the only reason why, like we were talking before, that I worked for Charlie Rose. My motivation to being on the show was to really see what he did. I was like, I'm not interested in like working for you like long term. If that happens, that's great. I just want to see what you're up to.
What can I learn from you, and what can I take from you?
Right. I was like, all I did, I'll tell you the three things that I did. Charlie Rose, just so you guys know, was this, he's a former anchor on the CBS News show in the United States. And he also had a show on PBS that he grew from very little, right? He started like 4 o'clock in the morning. I used to watch it when I was at the University of Pennsylvania in the morning. So I watched it from even before I got there, before 1985, all the way through until I was able to get on the show as an intern. So what was I going to say? So the three roles.
Well, there's that commitment.
3 roles were: you had to hold his makeup bag before he came in. The other thing that they let you do was pour the coffee and get the newspapers and get the New York Times, the Washington Post.
Also important.
And some other thing, and put it on the big oak desk or the wooden desk. And then the third thing was that they let you transcribe the videos, right? All 3 things I could be nosy, without really having the responsibility of the information that I was getting. Like, the information I was getting was so valuable to me, but what I was required to give was much less.
Nice.
Right.
That's advantageous.
It was advantageous for me, but they didn't know it, right? Because they didn't really know me, right? So I was sitting there soaking it up. And likewise with you, like I think, creative people, you never know what somebody's going to drop, and you're like, oh my God, I never thought of it like that. Let me take a listen to that. Some people understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, so.
No, inspiration comes from the unexpected.
Yeah. And you want to be, my position, you want to be in those situations, right? Because it would be boring. Life would be boring You know what I mean? It would be boring if you didn't have
Yes,
those,
for sure.
you know, if you didn't have those. So, you know, I say all that to say, you know, I'm glad that you and I are having the conversation. You,
Thank you for inviting.
of course, every artist is different. You have a method in terms of your drawing. Let's see if we can pull up these drawings so people can see what we're talking about. Let's see how this goes. Let's pray that it works out. So it says that we're sharing now. So can you describe, as on the top it says copyrighted material, and it has your name, and then it's crossed out, and then it says, you know, on grief, and there's a bubble. Explain to us what this is about. And
This book is, I did pictures and words for Billy Miller and Jan Wandrag and Straight to Hell.
and who are these? These are other artists, or?
They're artists, and Billy has promoted art for quite some time.
For
They asked me
years.
here in New York City, in Berlin, in LA, to show my work around the world. And I showed that book. I traveled with that book to the desert and showed it to my cousin. And she said, you know, I love this book, but I can't give it to my friends. Why don't you do a book on friendship or on love or on family or something that I can share with people? And so I came home and I didn't pay any mind to her. I did one that mimicked the first one and then didn't publish it. It's nice. It's in my, it'll be nice when I publish that later. But and then I didn't do anything for a minute. And then some things happened in my personal life, and then I made this book. And my name is scratched out because grief is all consuming and is bigger than me. So
when you come up with the idea for the book and then you present it to people, what are the reactions to something like this? Was this?
This was very well received. I had the pleasure and honor of doing a couple book releases with this, one with a longtime friend and publicist in New York, Fred Howard, and another with advocate, LGBTQ senior advocate, actress, and quilter, Elizabeth Coffey Williams. Did that interview with her in Philadelphia, where at the nation's oldest gay bookstore, Giovanni's Room, and which is now run by Philly AIDS Thrift. And that was, so I had this book provided me with opportunities beyond just sharing my relationship, some of my relationship with grief. It brought and illuminated roses that are still here, that are here, and remembrances of why we love the rose, right?
Okay.
In the spring becomes a rose.
Let me see. How am I gonna? I'm supposed to be able to move this thing forward. Let me see if it does anything. Well, before, there it is. It was in the way. Okay. This is a picture that is from Penn, right? You were a photographer you were doing some work for Daily Pennsylvania or one of the newspapers there or something?
I was photographing, yes, for the Daily Pennsylvanian.
Yeah. And what I like about the picture, just so you know, in terms of movement, what strikes me about, because I still do dance photography. So part of what I always see is I try to see, just like when you do a sculpture, the movement of the body and how you can actually capture them from different angles, right? And also I like the use of color in this film. I mean, in this picture.
That was
I,
that wasn't a thanks. Their bodies and that dance that's happening there is ancient.
yeah,
The
of course.
Greco-Roman wrestling and wrestling before that. It's one of the first things we do, isn't it? Is wrestle?
Yeah, I guess so.
Like it's maybe
Well, look, I think
it's primal.
it's primal. And again, let's say this, after many, many years, I have a different relationship with dance than I used to when I was younger. So I have a better appreciation for it, the purposes of what it's for in terms of culture and being able to move culture forward or express what's going on in the culture. And Greco-Roman wrestling or wrestling in general is just another, it's just another manifestation of what I've just said. For many people, as is baseball, football, you know, all these different types of sports. Yeah. Let's go. I didn't go through this. Here is what we were talking about earlier, right? And I just think it's interesting. And once I saw it in the frames, I said, okay, yeah, I get it. And I understand it. You know, just by itself, even though you could make a nice calendar, like one of those things where you rip them off, you know what I mean? Like 365 days of, you know,
That's
Post-its,
interesting.
right?
Someone asked me once to mock up door numbers for a hotel, a Vegas hotel.
Yeah, that would work. That would work.
I did it, but they didn't go with me. They went with someone else.
See, look, and this is another thing, right? Just us having this conversation, and we'll just talk about what's in the pictures, right? Just us having the conversation back and forth is already yielding, because I mean, I'm not thinking that anybody from a hotel in Vegas would want to, you know, employ you to just draw the numbers so that they could stick them on the door, right?
Yes,
I mean,
well,
but
art is a moment, right?
yeah, it
No one's
works.
calling me from Vegas today to do it.
Yeah, it
Calling me to
works.
do that when it was selling at the art fairs.
Yeah. No, look, I'll tell you my relationship with artists. I would, if I see something that I really like, I approach an artist and I say, hey, why don't you do this? But generally artists don't listen, and they're not really malleable people, right? So it takes a long time. Even, and this doesn't just mean, you know, visual artists, photographers, everybody, you know, you approach somebody, you say, you know, I see this, and this. Could you do A, B, and C? And they're looking at you like. So once you're able to connect with someone, yeah.
You know, if someone comes, I guess it depends on who it is,
Sure.
what they're asking for, what their investment level is. But for, you know, I'm making these Post-it notes, frames, and someone asked me to write numbers for a hotel room, and they're going to include my name that's going to lead people back to these.
Right.
Then I have, why wouldn't I do that?
Right, yeah, of course. Yeah. So explain to us what's, all right, please, what does it say? Please let me do it. And then there's, it looks like a ball sack in the middle, and then, and then a tub with somebody in it, right? Taking a, now, did you curate this in this way, or did somebody else do this and then take a photo of it?
I laid them out for that show. It's someone else's photo. That's not my photo.
Okay. But this is the idea, you guys, of what, you know, I'm showing a lot of different things. Let's go on to the next thing. That share turns 114 period. So what's the significance behind that Post-it note and thought?
There was a time when Cher's farewell tour, and may still be, you know, I just saw Cher for the first time. It was amazing. She's amazing. Really wacky stuff too. She did this song with a hologram of Sun. She did I've Got You Babe with a hologram of Sunny.
Really?
Eh, really? Like I said, some wacky Cher stuff, but she's still like pumping. Like I saw
Yeah.
Tina finish with Cher. Why does Cher? I hope Cher turns 114. Cher is immortal, right? You know, this is
Uh-huh.
a this quest for immortality,
Uh-huh. Okay.
like Art Detritus is. But I saw Tina when she was in her 70s, and she sat for 2 songs in the middle of the show.
Uh-huh.
Tina Turner,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the rest of that show she danced.
Right, right.
That's
Wow.
that's that's how I felt about this Cher show. And Cher even opened the show with, "What's your grandmother doing tonight?" So,
And this I saw, I thought, yeah, I have to put this out. Now, explain to us
John,
the photo. Now, look, I'm going to ask you, why is John Waters so important to so many artists, particularly artists in LGBT, but in general, he just, look, my mom, because he's from Baltimore, right? My mother is talking about him. My mother's
that's
knows.
awesome. Go John.
Yeah, I mean, so this is John Waters. He's a famous director out of Baltimore. He's done a lot of films. He's one of these, would you call him alternative? No. He
No.
started, what would you characterize, or how would you characterize his art or his brand of movie making, filmmaking?
He started as a kid with a vision, was fearless, and showed tremendous commitment to his craft. And
Mhm.
when we started talking, when you and I, David, started talking
Mhm.
about doing this interview as part of this interview series that you're working on,
Yeah,
uh, it's the same thing that draws me to you, is this commitment to a vision and a goal.
yeah,
And it helps that I find his work very funny.
yeah. And the idea of, I mean, he's the person who, Hairspray is his movie, right? That's his movie. He directed that movie, or did he write it, or that's his movie? He's associated,
Written and directed.
written and directed, right? So what I think is fascinating is when Hairspray came out, it was sort of like this, how do you say, B movie, cult movie. And just
Yes.
like a lot of other things that are now sort of mass marketed, you see on Broadway, who would have thought that that movie would have been remade, musical, this? I mean, like, it's the same with here in Europe, there's the Flashdance and Footloose, right? So they've become musicals, and they're I've seen Flashdance, not personally, but I've seen the billboard for Flashdance and Footloose musicals here in Basel, in small Basel, Switzerland.
So it takes a minute for
Yeah,
people to catch on sometimes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, John's with that movie, that show, Hairspray, the film Hairspray. That's an important film to make, and I think that was made in the 80s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Like I
when
think
no one's talking about black men going to jail at the rate they're going to jail in the war
right.
on drugs, and he's making this film about race relations in the 60s and basically saying, what's changed.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting. And you're holding one of your books called Wedding. It's what's the
That's
name of it?
Destination Wedding.
Destination Wedding. And what is Destination Wedding about? I think I saw it on the internet. I didn't pull it. I don't think
It's
I
about
pulled
an
it.
affair that these two characters have at a destination wedding.
Yeah.
What I find exceptionally exciting about this book, a couple things, is that that I was able to show it, get good feedback from John, but also I made a series of videos promoting the book
Mm-hmm.
where I changed the words of popular songs to include Destination Wedding, that are available, that you can see on my Instagram. that crack my family up. So you want to
Mm.
see what my family laughs at that I make? They laughed at those videos.
Yeah.
Promoting this book, Destination Wedding.
Destination Wedding is very interesting. When we were, because I grew up in, I was born in Baltimore and then grew up in northern New Jersey, about 40 minutes outside of New York. And one of the things that would be very exciting for us is going to the city, particularly the East Village. And I remember there were, artists, there were so many artists around during that time. People would make little cards and try to sell them, like artistic postcards. And it just was like, oh, I can make a postcard and sell them or something. And then you hear stories of Basquiat selling these cards to David Bowie, and he was doing all of these things and making art. And so there, in my eyes, there really was a minute, more than a minute, in New York City where this was going on, where all the artists were in one place. There seemed to be a culture around creation. And I thought that was really exciting. It's one of the reasons why John Waters, for me, was important, because he was one of the people that was in this ecosystem.
Yeah, that's building that. That's building.
Yeah, he was one of the he is a pioneer. He's one of the pioneers that was around, sort of, and people younger than him were going to the city to try to do the same thing or something similar. Right. So everybody
I'm moving back to New York City to be an artist.
Yeah, of course, right. Yeah. We'll talk about the Philly versus New York in a minute. And then this is another picture that you did, similar.
Amazing. This provided me an opportunity to get a shot like this because I'm laying on the mat, where the camera's between my legs, probably more likely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I laid down at some of these where my body's laid out flat so that I'm on the mat. And to have that access is quite lovely.
And how did you approach? Did they approach you? Did you approach them and say, I want to photograph, or this is my work? Can I?
I don't recall how that relationship came about. I'm happy that it did, though.
Sure.
I didn't just shoot wrestling. I shot some football. I shot
I saw
lacrosse, basketball.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
this is the.
But of course, that work, fits my public schema a bit more, right?
I see. Okay. What is this? This is 14 schools in 14 days.
So this is the second book in the student loan debt trilogy series.
Why did I put this up? It's a trilogy? Trilogy?
It is a trilogy.
Okay, I didn't know. We'll talk about it. So 14. This is the second one, and what's the first? I think I have the first one here. Let's go to this one. Oh, come on, where's there's. Oh no, it's my greatest wish is that my nurse lives and that the corporations, churches, and portfolios start paying taxes. That's the new one, right?
That is COVID inspired, baby.
And then she thinks she's the editor at Vanity Fair.
I love that read. I love that read. She thinks she's the editor at Vanity Fair.
Well, there was a time for those people, Vanity Fair, I don't know if it still has the same, but it used to be the magazine, one of the top magazines that, when it came out, Joe, I still have Vanity Fairs in a storage unit in New York City that I'm paying rent on. Okay.
Perfect. There you go. There's the weight of that little note.
Yeah, I still have 80s, 90s Vanity Fairs in a box.
Particular covers or are they standout issues for you?
Yeah, I would. Because the whole idea was that you couldn't wait to see what the cover was going to be because it was art, right? You knew that they were going to come out with something good. Annie Leibovitz was the main photographer for Vanity Fair, but there were others. It's a small group of people, and I don't think the people that are publishing Vanity Fair really understand that anymore. Because if they were smart, which they're not, they would have already found great photographers, not just their friends, great photographers to execute the vision of the magazine. When you look at the magazine now, there's no vision.
That whole industry is in a bewilderment.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
bewilderment better, actually.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, this new technology, I don't know that the Vanity Fair wants to pay it's what is it, user created content to promote the product now. Why am I paying a photographer? Why am I paying a model? I still want that to happen. I want there to be that industry. I know that industry is trying to figure itself out right now.
Yeah. Oh, well. But yeah, I have those. One day I'll be able to get them. This is yours as well, right?
Well, it mimics the postings that I would do in New York City, but this is a studio. Atelier is Portuguese for a studio, and this is an artist that I lived with in Sao Paulo.
Okay. Okay. And then this, I saw this as well, so I figured I would share that.
Marine Corps uniform circa 1970 is a series of 23 photos. There are people I asked on the beach in 12th Street Beach, Miami, the Corral Gay Beach, to wear my father's Marine Corps uniform and let me take their portrait. Something extraordinary about this project, in addition to 23 strangers agreeing to do this, is that I shot it in color negative, and then I printed it and developed it as color negatives, and then I printed those color to black and white fiber paper. So when I'm standing in front of this image, it's hard to tell what decade soldier I'm looking at. I like that, and I know other people really related to that as well. That they're like, well, this could be my grandfather in World War II, or this could be my father in Korea,
right?
So, or Vietnam, as this uniform is Vietnam War.
And this is the picture that I was talking about earlier before we started the interview. I think this is great. One of the, and this is the first book of the trilogy.
This is the first book in the student loan debt trilogy series. Trilogy.
Well, let's go into it, and then I'm gonna stop sharing the video. But let's start to go into what the book is about, how you got the idea for the book, and then we will move forward from there.
The book is about the university industrialized complex and student loan debt, and a hashtag that catches fire across the nation of student loan debt suicide challenge. So these characters in the book pay attention to this rumor that if I die before I graduate, my student loan debt is absolved. And they start killing themselves, but not only killing themselves, but live streaming the death. And there's a campus revolt, and the students take arms, and in an attempt to pull down this oligarchy. And you'd have to read more about it. You'd have to read it. Does that tell you enough to make you want to read? Does it make you want to read it?
Well, I'll put it this way. Let's just cut to the chase. Did this come out of your experience while in graduate school, or was it undergraduate, or is it a combination of both of what you saw? Where did the inspiration come from?
I did a show in New York called For Whites Only in 2007,
Mm-hmm.
and got a full page in the Times, and didn't sell enough from that show to pay for the show. I was living in a building in the Bronx where someone sold drugs out of the 3rd floor. I had the apartment on the 2nd floor, and a guy came out of jail, and I was apparently had more to do with this thing happening above us than the guys that were running it while he was in jail. So I come home one day and he's changing the front door lock to require a key to get out the front door.
Oh, okay.
And I said something along the line, I have people renting from me to help pay my mortgage or pay my rent. I didn't have a mortgage then. What if there's a fire? How are we going to get it? This is unsafe. I'm going to call the landlord. He's like, the landlord doesn't care what I do here as long as no one gets hurt. And then looked at me with the screwdriver,
Yeah.
and stay much longer after that.
Right.
How did I get onto this story? Where were we? Oh, so I left New York. I packed it up. I said, I'm going home. I moved home to my hometown. I ran for, oh no, that was there. So then I was like, okay, now I'm home. What am I going to do? I said, I'm going to go see this grad program at University of Pennsylvania. Because I'd really like food and maybe some health insurance, which I was not getting regularly. I didn't have health insurance, and I was not always food secure as an artist in New York.
Sure, I understand.
And so I went down and I spoke with representatives of the University of Pennsylvania about their grad program. They told me something that turned out to be untrue. And they said if I did this, this, and this with this degree, I would get hired. And I did that, and that with their degree, and I didn't get hired. And tried to find someone to represent, a lawyer to represent me to that effect, but I didn't have money for a lawyer at that time. And couldn't find a pro bono unit outfit to help me out with that. And so then what happened?
Well, before you go on, why do you think that whoever said, okay, if you do this and this, what was their motivation in terms of offering this to you? They wanted a student? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, a full cottage income, yeah.
Well, sure, yeah, of course.
And I can't.
I mean,
I can't surmise what that person's in.
Yeah, were they selling you hard? Did they, like when the football players are really good in high school and they're like knocking on the door? Like, I'm trying to get an idea of why were they so? I mean, you went and you investigated, and they were like, hey, yeah, yeah, you should do it. You should do it, and then we can get you in. Or that's what it seems as if they were, according to you, what they were presenting.
That is what they were presenting, is that if I got my degree with them, I was going to go places.
Okay, yeah. But that's no different than
the tune of, well, I mean, and I'm sarcastic about it, but
yes,
they're selling me something that costs $100,000, and they're promising me a return, in my case, on that investment. And not just in I know they're doing it to other people. I can only speak to my case.
Yeah, sure. But wouldn't you say, I mean, I can say that that's going on across the board, not just in the, graduate programs. It's going on across undergraduates and all, and so on. So
it's a historical, they're going to look back and be like, the same way they looked at the credit card debt of the 80s. and
Mm-hmm.
anyone could get a credit card, and people were targeted for credit cards.
Yes.
The the U.S. federal government took over the student loan debt system or student loan servicing system in this country in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And lucky enough for me, I entered grad school at 2008, and I didn't have to show proof of income. I didn't have to show work history. I didn't have
Right.
to, here's $100 grand, Joe, have fun.
Right.
And now I'm going to charge you 15% interest for it.
Right.
And
But
the
you know
thing
what?
that I told you you're going to get from it,
Uh-huh.
you're going to do everything right, and you're not going to get what you were told you're going to get, which in order to pay back $100,000 loan at 14.5%, I have to get this job that you promised me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can make those payments. But if I don't get what you told me this is going to give me, then
Mm-hmm.
how am I supposed to make that payment? You said this is something that's happening, that's going on. I know and it's in the book, as a adjunct professor, I had a site director say to me, how do we get more low-income kids from the neighboring town to enroll in our programs? Because if they stay 9 weeks, we get the full federal funding, and then it doesn't really matter if they
Yeah. See.
make it through the program or not.
Yeah. 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 And so,
It happened to me at an Ivy League, but we're lying to our kids in community college, at regular college.
but what this is what I see, not necessarily the silver lining, but this is what I see. One of the reasons why your story was compelling to me was because I saw that you had written this book, and that was a form of action, right? It's a call to action to say, okay, I'm not going to, let this be the last word on this topic, right? And I think, in particular, we said we weren't going to talk about politics, but I think it's kind of what is needed now, right? So you're in a situation and you can't just keep going down the same road expecting the same outcome. So you basically said, okay, I'm going to write this, I'm going to use my ability, I'm going to make a book about it, and tell the audience what you did. You went across the country with the
I
book.
made that book about it. I did some public speaking events about it. I got the article I was fortunate enough, Aaron Arvedlin, Bob Fernandez wrote this article in the Philadelphia Inquirer. That image that you showed is by Tim Ty, staff photographer there, super friendly, got a great image. So I had that in my belt. So I felt like people were responding. I had good sales. It was selling well. And I started out, and there's a protest in the book.
Yeah.
That I alluded to. So I started out, I wanted to visit protests across the United States. I went to University of Ohio, or Ohio State University, where people were for dead in Ohio, the anti-war march of 1973. I should know that, but I don't know it. Or it's escaping me. So I went to visit that site where protesters were killed. And then I went to, and while I was there, I met an artist I went and visited their art building. I met an artist, and I gave him a copy he was an MFA student. I gave him a copy of UIC, the book that you mentioned that we're talking about. And then I went to Detroit, and I went to the United Auto Workers strike line, and I had my UIC book, and I walk up to somebody, one of the strikers on the line. I'm like, hey, there's a protest in my book, and can I take a picture of me and my book and you? And he's like, he looked at me confused. And then the only thing he said to me was, we want the provisions in the contract reinstated, and that's why I'm here marching right now. And I recognized, even walking up to the line, I recognized that this wasn't doing what I thought it was going to do when I set out on my journey.
Okay.
And I told someone that story in a bar later that night, and he said, "Oh, I'm a teacher at a university in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and they have an MFA program. So I went there and I met an artist, Carrie, which becomes by Carrie Us,
Mm-hmm.
the author of the fan fiction novel 14 Schools in 14 Days.
Okay.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
and I told her the story and gave her a book. And then my trip, I never made it to Standing Rock or to the place in Atlanta I was going. The trip became my own protest. I visited 12 more universities. I went down from there. I went to University of Chicago, or Art Institute of Chicago, and then I went down to Missouri, University of Kansas. I went all the way up to Laramie, Wyoming,
Mm.
Austin, Texas. I basically crossed the country like a echocardiogram, given UIC away to MFA students on college campuses.
So you gave it away for nothing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I give you a book? Can I
Uh-huh.
give you this book about student loan debt?
Uh-huh.
Warning.
And so what was the reaction? I mean, what came about, what came out of it? What was the reaction of the people? Because what I believe, I'll tell you, when you do something like that, that's like a Don King moment, right? We were talking about, I enjoy, this is a big promotion moment, right? So it puts you right in the hands of the people that need to see that information.
It was tremendous. I mean, I got great, of course, stories from the individuals I met and spoke with and accepted the gift. And I got some press for it, and it gave. And I got to the desert outside of in La Quinta, California, and I made this second book, 14 Schools in 14 Days, documenting the journey. So that's what I got out of it, was then being able to tell the story of meeting all these people. And there's a government conspiracy. It's a creative nonfiction. So although it's based on my journey, it's written as if it's a fan fiction novel by one of the kids that got the book. And there's conspiracy and dangerous artists, and it's fantastic.
So do you think that there's some as irony with regard to, like, when you first started working, you were selling debt, and now you're talking about in a different way, where you're going from place to place telling people not to take on the debt?
Don't take that loan, or know what it is that you're getting, know what the return is. Not what you think the return is going to be, or what. There's got to be a way to quantify that return, because too many people aren't capitalizing on that so-called return.
Well, look, there are a couple of things that when we kind of talked about this before, there are a couple of things that I'm thinking about this, which is, the first is that the idea of it is good, right? The idea of, okay, we'll give you this loan, then you're going to get a job, right? Because you're educated, right? But it seems as if there's so many people that are doing it, it doesn't necessarily mean anything as much as it did when it first started, right? It's not, it doesn't hold the kind of weight. By the time I got out, it was like, I mean, I remember trying to get jobs and they were like, whatever. They're like, what can I, you know, I might as well have decided to become an artist when I came out of school, because it was the same struggle. It was no different, I think, you know.
Fields across the board. It's not just the art fields that need to fill those seats to get the exorbitant entrance fee.
Yeah. And I think
it is going to price out the lower,
sure,
perhaps it already is pricing out, but not even the lower, the lower income job that happened after the career, right? So the socialist does, or the social worker doesn't go to college anymore.
Right.
The artist doesn't go to college anymore. The teacher doesn't go to college anymore. what other, who else is not, the dancer doesn't go to, you know.
No. Mm-mm. Yeah.
But any career, when you get out and you're 40 years into your student loan debt and you still are 20 years into your student loan debt, that's no longer a commodity, that degree. You're right. But I don't know. I don't know what I think part of the reason is there's a huge influx of people going for the degree. But listen, those people that are going for the degree, I taught students that can't read and can't write a sentence at college level that had come through the public education system in the United States.
Yeah.
Why is that person being sold debt?
Yeah. Look, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. And I think, as we spoke about before, it's one of the reasons why I'm still volunteering for the University of Pennsylvania. We literally are raising money, or have raised money in the past, close to $1 million for financial aid. I know exactly what it feels like not to have the money to go to school, because I've been in a situation many times where I had to figure out a way. And but again, I will say this. I wouldn't be sitting here in Switzerland talking to you now had it not been for what happened to me when I was in undergrad and what I went through in undergrad. That was part of the experience. So we're talking about how a bad situation, you make a bad situation and turn it into something, you know, good. That was one of the first things that happened to me when I graduated from high school. I was like, okay, this is really bad. You know, what am I going to do? So I think the same with regard to art, or, you know, you've made a way. And with regard to the student loan debt, you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to express in terms of how I feel about this. Right. And I think it's important.
Hopefully facilitate change. You know, it's, where is it? Over here. Oh, well. Oh, yeah. Does it change the conversation? How have I changed? What is my role in the conversation? And how have I affected it?
Yeah. I mean, look, that's why I said, hey, look, I really want you to come on. I really, now, you know, I don't know who's going to respond to this interview. The good thing is, the amazing thing is that you never know, right? You never know who's listening, and you never know. I had to make a call yesterday. I felt I had to make a call to somebody who I thought, okay, we did this interview with regard to this film that was coming out about this black couple, young couple that had an affair during the summer. I called somebody up and said, I know you're gonna love it. I know you're gonna love it. And she's like, yeah, I saw the interview. You know, I'm watching what you're doing. I was like, oh, you are? She says, yeah, I watched a little bit of the beginning. I'll go back and watch it, you know. But of course they don't say anything, right? Like here I am thinking, I need to call her and let her know. People watch all the time.
It's amazing when you toss that thought. And it's amazing. And then around the world, I hear that thought back. I'm happy your friend is watching without you asking them to watch.
And I'll give you one step further, which is the person who I interviewed, also a Penn alum, I had not seen since 1991. Somebody emailed me and said, David, you need to interview her. I'm like, okay, when's the last time you've spoken to her? Didn't hear anything back from that person. Sent me the email. I'm like, okay. So then I track her down somehow. I interview her. We set it up. It went very quickly. I think I emailed her the second time I emailed her just to give her an update. One of her friends had already seen the interview. Fantastic. Right. So in the speed in which this information can go out, you never can predict, you know, you never can predict. And so the idea is to get people like yourself explaining your stories, and similar to what you've done in your own work with regard to the your exhibitions, literally showing the screens of the people, right, above or below the Mona Lisa with the mask on, right? It does make an impression when I send that out to people. So, you know, that's what I'll be doing with this interview. And, you know, is there anything else that you would like to say? I think you said something about where people can get the books, and also your upcoming work, or
I'd like to quickly wrap up. When those students don't enroll, it's the scientists, the doctors, the lawyers, our other sectors that may have, and even that is different. Not teaching the arts education, not having access for artists education, it affects all of us, our whole community. Right now I'm making these. I'm so excited. Baby tees. I had to do them as a pseudonym because I didn't think
you didn't want to be associated with the baby tees.
I don't want to be associated.
So where can people find the baby tees under the pseudonym, and also the work?
100 pajamas. I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
No,
also the work.
100 pajamas.
100 pajamas. Hashtag 100 pajamas. We launched the website and the t-shirts later this month. And it will just be 100pajamas.com. But the coloring book is out now. It's super sweet, kid inspired and kid friendly. The third book in the trilogy is written and will be out in February, maybe March.
Maybe March, so it's upcoming. Well, I know
I have to be able to do those. I'm sorry. I want to be able to do those events in person. So
I see. Okay.
Get my vaccine, get my book event.
Okay. Well, I have to get the book so I can read and see what you actually, the idea was I was supposed to read it first, you guys, but I just said, let's just do the interview, right? Let's just go for it. And then we'll figure out on the back end how we're going to work the whole thing out. What we can do is put all the information in the, in the bottom of the interview or whatever, the description box. And I'll start putting it out there. Now, I don't think you're on Facebook, but you're on LinkedIn, but we'll somehow figure it out so that we can promote it like Don King would. Only Don King, yes?
I am on Facebook. All my handles are Joe Ovelman. The Twitter, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, they basically all just have my Instagram. I don't have a TikTok. Do you have a TikTok?
I have a TikTok, but I haven't done anything with it, so it just has the numbers in it.
I don't know who the heck would follow me on TikTok. I mean,
but I will tell you this. Let me tell you, you would be good at TikTok because you're on TikTok now, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh no, you would be great on TikTok. You gotta get on TikTok now because it's all about the short. It's similar. It's the video version of the Post-it note.
Thank you. I'd like to spend less time on social media. I don't need another social media, David.
But the thing about TikTok is that I think if you're good, you can get a number of different likes faster than you would on the other ones. Right now, I was this close to calling somebody or emailing somebody who I saw on TikTok to do an interview because I was so compelled with how they put together the video and they got my attention.
It's amazing the capability and capabilities and capacity of technological creation.
Yes.
How quickly and easy it is to the 7-year-old.
Yeah.
So I'm not 7 anymore, David. I don't know if I need a TikTok.
Yeah. Well, look, I think all you need is one little platform to sell those. What is it? 100 pajamas. You need one little to sell the one.
Take off by itself. I'm so excited about that. That's the first thing I've ever done that you can give your grandmother and give your aunt.
Right, and it's safe.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
I'm very happy to have this time with you.
Yeah, and I'll keep you posted on what's happening with the video. I'll upload it as soon as I can. If there's anything that we need to change, we'll do that as well.
Thank you, David.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening, okay?
Change the names to protect the innocent.
Yeah, okay. We'll do.
I don't think we did that. See you.
No.